Welcome back to Chin Music, our baseball show at TalkNorth.com. The lineup today: Roy Smalley, former Twins star, current Twins broadcaster; LaVelle, Neal, Star Tribune columnist. I'm Jim Souhan, also from the Star Tribune. Brandon Morton's our producer. Best way to listen to this show or any show you like at TalkNorth.com. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app. We do appreciate it. We're going to talk a lot about the outfield dynamics, the outfield possibilities here with the Minnesota Twins. We were at the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want to thank Aquarius Home Services, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line, and TSR Injury Law. So let's get to it. Buxton played center field, and they added another center fielder. I think Royce wrote it earlier this week. If Buxton's healthy, watch out. This team could really be something. Roy, how do you like the outfield setup right now, and who do you expect to contribute a lot as in the starting and reserve roles?
Well, just, it's what we said. You heard it first here before you heard it from Patrick. I mean, Buxton's everything. And if he plays 120 or 130 games, look out for this club. There's no question that statement is true. And we've been making that for a while. I really like this Margot deal a lot. Twins were decidedly left-handed in the outfield. This guy's a solid big league player. This is not one of those, oh my gosh, this is not Bryce Harper. This is not an earth-shaking deal. It's just another one of the Falvey Levine very solid moves to address a need that they have, which is another right-handed hitter that can play the outfield well. They're Kepler and their outfield is especially if Buck doesn't play. Their outfield is left-handed, and in left field and right field was Kepler and Wallner. So don't know how those guys are going to do against left-handed pitching. Margot's good against left-handed pitching. He's a solid player. I think it just gives them another right-handed bat that's a big league right-handed bat that is a very solid move. So I think they're just shoring up potential weak spots and adding some real flexibility, and I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was kind of interesting how the transaction went down because the Dodgers were able to bring back Kike Hernandez for $4 million, and I believe that based on the money that the Dodgers are sending to the Twins are just going to be on the hook for $4 million for Margot. So I'm wondering if the Twins offered Kike the same contract as the Dodgers, and he just decided to pick the Dodgers, and then the Dodgers spun Margot off as an aftershoot. So I thought that was interesting how that all came together. But Margot gives him, I know his defensive numbers slipped a little bit last year, but he's still a good defensive player, and he's never achieved the offensive potential that people thought he had when he broke into the league. But he still is going to be functional coming off the bench. He'll make more contact than Michael A. Taylor. Don't know if he'll hit as many home runs as Michael A. Taylor. And hopefully, I like Michael. I hope he finds a job somewhere. He wanted a multi-year contract, and I don't think the Twins were interested in signing him for that. So this kind of pushed him in the direction of looking at someone like Margot as well. So I think it helps out everyone. He can definitely go in the center field and play for Buck. One of the corner outfield spots if needed. Probably won't be a high priority with that, but the Twins. The one thing that the Twins excelled in last year was upgrading the bottom part of the roster when they had like a Kyle Farmer, they had a Michael Taylor, and I think that kind of follows in the footsteps with this acquisition.
Yeah, and the way they put together the entire roster last year, partly spurred by the fact that Buxton showed up with knee pain in spring training, saved their season. It kept them afloat until they got Royce Lewis and Julian and Wallner going, and they're doing kind of this now. They might have the best of both worlds this year. They might have Buxton in center field and excellent depth with Castro and Margot and everybody else. I'm going to ask one of those unanswerable questions that's fun to kick around in this kind of a format. Of course, we don't know the answer, but I'm interested in your thoughts on what the answer might be. What's a realistic yet optimistic number of games for Buxton to play in center field this year? Let's start with LaVelle this time.
We're gonna go there. Okay. Realistic. Well, I think everybody wants to see him play 120 games. I'm gonna be more like 95 to 100. Just because, just going on past history with him, he can't stay healthy for a whole season. It's not his fault. I mean, there've been a couple of soft tissue injuries, yeah, but a lot of his injuries through the years have been because of blunt force trauma from running into things, sliding into things, or being hit with things. It's just how he rolls. Man, I don't know. All of a sudden, is that gonna stop this year? So my guess is if he can get close to 100 games. I think that's a plus for everyone. It'd be great if he could play 135 games because I think he'll push 40 home runs and 100 RBI. And in his mind, he still thinks he can steal bases. But I'm going down to spring training on Monday. I'm going to have a discussion with him to remind him that he doesn't get on first base enough to steal because when he touches the ball, it's a double, triple, or homer, and he doesn't walk a lot. So stop saying you're going to steal 30 bases, Buck, because I don't know if it's realistic. Anyway, I think he can get close to 100, a little bit over 100. I'm setting the bar low here. If he has a healthier season than what I'm expecting, then it's a boost for the Twins, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more optimistic about realism, LaVelle. I think at some point in time, the worm's going to turn. I don't see him injured every year for the rest of his baseball life. And at some point in time, I just think the percentages are going to catch up and he's going to play. I'm hoping it's this year. I'm going to say realistically 115 games in center field and a bunch more as the DH, just to give him some time off, but keep his bat in the lineup. And with what they've done as you say, in the bottom part of the lineup here, they will have the luxury of doing that, quote, resting him as a DH periodically. So I would say 115 games realistically in center field, meaning 135 or 40 day in, day out. And I'm gonna say my optimistic view is that he plays 130 games in center.
Wow. If that happens, as we've said, as everybody said, if that happens, watch out. I'm going to be a little more pessimistic about pure games played. I'm going to say 90, because my guess is if he has any soreness at all, anything approaching, even not an injury, but even anything indicating that he might be wearing down, they will get him off the field. They might even give him a break at some point this year. So I'm going to say 90 games in center field, maybe 40 at DH, with maybe one stay on the injured list and some regular built-in days off. And here's the other aspect of this. If playing in center field regularly helps him relax and helps him adapt to his DH days, then the offensive numbers could go absolutely bonkers.
Yep. I'm willing to toss in 20 at-bats as a DH, 20 games as a DH on top of my 90 to 100 prediction. So...
well, if that's all, in my opinion, if that's all he plays, then it's not the Twins team excitement that we're starting to generate with him in the lineup. I just think at some point in time, he's got to play. He's going to be on the field one way or the other for 135 or 40 games. So, and if he's not, then it's just going to be okay.
And of course, there's precedent for a player being labeled injury prone early in his career and later in his career becoming, a 150 to 160 game player. And that's Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor, different position. Paul played a little center field, but different positions, different kinds of players, but both quick twitch guys with Hall of Fame talent. And Molitor had all kinds of trouble staying on the field early in his career. And then, as Roy said, the switch did flip, and all of a sudden he became very durable. So it can happen. If that knee really is cleaned up, I mean, he could play as many games as you guys hope.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable. Molitor's second half of his career was better than his first half. And I mean, Roy just touches on something that's interesting because generally I think athletes age better in baseball. I keep thinking of how Torrey Hunter was able to play, in his late 30s, pushing 40, and if Buxton, reaches that zone, where he ages well and puts all these injuries behind him, then he could have a heck of a second half of a career. So it's definitely possible with him, just because there's a possibility of him being able to age well, and that will increase his longevity and help his numbers.
Well, the other thing is that, and Jim alluded to it a little bit, but I'll amplify to some degree. The more he plays and the better he's played, if he's out there in center field and the stroke gets rolling and the Twins are winning, he's going to stay on the field. I mean, that his personality is such that, he'll take a day off here and there if the knee feels a little tired or just because they should give him, a day off completely every 2 weeks or 3 or whatever it is. But if his knee is cleaned up and he's playing up to his capability, he is not going to want to come out of the lineup.
No, you're right. I think he really. And here's the other interesting aspect of all this. When players get labeled as injury prone, whether you're talking about Molitor back in the day, or Royce Lewis, or Buxton. I mean, they are greatly motivated to prove that they are not injury prone, that the injuries were just something that happened.
True.
So I could really see Buxton wanting to make a point if he's feeling good.
Yep, I think he feels really responsible to this club, and I'm talking about not only to the to earn the money that the considerable money he's making, but I think to his teammates. I think it bothers the hell out of him when he's not playing, mainly because of how he feels about his teammates and how he wants his teammates to feel about him, and he knows that they look to him. He is absolutely what is it, the straw that stirs the drink up, stupid line, but I mean, he's the guy. And he knows he's the guy, and he doesn't feel good when he isn't the guy. And so I just think it's, there could be a coalescing of events here at some point in time when he is healthy enough to play a lot of games, and the more he plays, the more excited he gets, and the better he gets, and the better team gets.
No doubt. Yeah. Once again, the scary thing is that Buxton and Correa, I think, combined for like 1.2 WAR or something like that, and the Twins still won the division. So, as a pair, if those guys are on the field more and are feeling healthy, it's definitely a watch out moment.
Yeah, you made that point last week too. You made that point last week too, LaVelle. I thought it was great. I mean, it's kind of head slapping. It's like, what? That's all. Those two guys that all they contributed. I mean, that's an aberration of major proportion. I mean, that's just not going to happen again, I don't think.
2.2, no. Sorry, not 1.2, 2.2. Floor.
Yeah, but if Correa hits the way to his career standard and Buxton plays, I mean, everything improves. They just become a much more dynamic team.
Yep.
All right, let's get to one other question I have for you guys on Correa and Buxton. But first, I want to let you know that we are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius, wishing you a happy new year. And happy, how can we be only halfway through winter? Want some good news? Now is the time to replace your old furnace and AC with a new high-efficiency whole home heating and cooling system. Because at Aquarius, you can install it now and not pay a penny until next year. Visit AquariusHomeservices.com and schedule your free estimate today. Financing offer subject to available credit. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Also, another deal through the network, thanks to the John Krasinski Show, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Highly recommend. John wears their stuff all the time. You see their stuff courtside at Target Center, like I was there on Wednesday night, all the time. Go to Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Use the promo code JONK20, JONK20 to get 20% off. One other Krasinski-related note, he's taking a trip with Timberwolves fans to Spain this summer through Defined Destinations. Go to definedestinations.com, check out that trip, or listen to the John Krasinski Show to get more details on it. It sounds like it's going to be fabulous. Spain's beautiful. John would be a great guy to hang out with. Check that out as well. Let's start with Roy here. Correa basically has said publicly, I'm not stealing bases. I'm just not going to take the chance. I don't think it's worth one base here every once in a while to take any chance of messing with my durability, my ability to play every day. Should Buxton take the same approach, Roy?
That's a wild card for me. I absolutely think Correa's approach is the correct one. I think for Buck, I think there's two reasons for him not to steal 30 bases. One, LaVelle already mentioned he's not on first base nearly as much as everybody else does relative to at-bats and relative to his production. But the other reason is, I just don't think he needs to. Especially this next year, I'd like to see him get. I know I'm optimistic. I know maybe I'm Pollyanna, but 120 or 130 games in center field are more important than him stealing 30 bases instead of 15. I think there are going to be times when there's absolutely no. There's no risk with his speed and with the pitchers move to the plate being slow, or a catcher not being a great thrower, whatever it is. He's going to be able to practically walk into second base or occasionally third base, and it can be at big times, and that'll be fine. I think at some point in time when he's feeling his absolute best, and as you guys are talking about, second half part of the career, just getting better and better. If he wants to go out and have a 30-30 season, then okay. I think at least for this next year, let's play center field and hit and run around the bases when you've hit it or when somebody else has hit it, and tone down the base stealing just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one because when he was coming up through the system, he stole a lot of bases. And I think there was one year, I think he only got thrown out once. I think it was by Kyle Schwarber in Double-A, and that's why my comp for him was always been Eric Davis, because he was another guy who could show some pop and steal a lot of bases. But and Buxton's career high is 29 stolen bases, I believe, which was in 2017. And that was the last time he played 140 games. He hasn't played that many games in this season. I'm guessing that if he stays on the field as much as we think he can, he's probably going to fall across 20 steals. So as long as he's not endangering himself or risking anything or trying to steal bases when he's sore or banged up, I think just by being on the field and playing the game, he's probably going to fall across 20 steals. So I could see him getting in that range, but I wouldn't give him the automatic green light to run at will. I wouldn't do that right now. We got to see the man play 100 games, man. We just got to get him back in the triple digits. We don't want to start him throwing his body around and getting into trouble with that. So I'm sticking with right around 20.
So in the field, I've had this conversation with Puckett and Torrey Hunter and Buxton over the years. It's one of those outside of sports logical suppositions that you can tell somebody not to run into walls, not to dive, to take it easy in center field. The reality is you're talking about high-level competitors who want to do everything they can to win the game they're playing in, who want to be great, not just good. Is there any way they should or could curb his willingness to challenge walls? Now, I know a few years ago, they had him playing deeper, so you would run into walls at a more oblique angle, and that was a very logical thing to do. But can you tell a great center fielder to not go after every ball to preserve himself, Roy?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
He's already made that point the other day when he played, and after the game he said, "Yeah, I could have died for that ball, but I figured they wouldn't be happy if I did that. He's already thinking about that, and so no, you're not going to be able to tone him down. I think the playing deeper is a really good idea, and I think he should do that. It's not only the angle, but it's also how quickly he gets to a place where the impact with the wall might not be as much full speed as if he was playing shallower and had to go back and get it, and then he can choose. A ball off the wall or stealing a home run is almost always more impactful than a ball falling in front of you. So I'd give up the occasional ball falling in front of you if it's a critical situation and he feels like he's come in and dive coming straight in. Then okay. But I think the trade-off is play a little deeper, get to the ball at the wall quicker, and let's stay on the field.
I'm smelling a column about Buxton rules for Byron Buxton safety and longevity. He's already did that. And I think his first spring training game in the outfield, there was a ball he could have dove for, and he let the ball drop. And he says, "I'm not diving in spring training." So that's a good sign there. And yeah, I believe, Roy, in 2022, the plan was to play him deeper, so he would have less distance between him and the wall. So theoretically, he would not be charging into the wall at super full speed, at supersonic speed, like he's been known to do. I'm curious to see if there's going to be times where he refrains from diving just for preservation and longevity. But man, when the ball's put in play, your instincts take over and you forget about that. And and that's what made Buxton a terrific player. So you can talk about all you want, but once the ball's put in play, you're supposed to just go. You don't think, you just use your instincts and use your natural ability to make plays. So I think that's going to be tough for him to do.
Yeah, I don't expect him to do that. LaVelle, question for you. What does this do to the roster makeup, the addition of Margot and the expectation that Buxton will play in center field a lot? Does this mean Austin Martin probably starts in the minors?
Yeah, that's what I think. Because you remember during the exit interview at the end of last season, they were ready to put Austin Martin on a roster as a backup outfielder. Yep. It's superfluous now if he's on the roster with Margot, because when's he going to get on the field? You still have Kyle Farmer, which I'm still a little surprised that the Twins couldn't find someone to trade for him, because I think he's still a starting caliber shortstop. You got Farmer, who's going to back up Correa at short and play around the infield. You got Margot, who can play around the outfield. You got Willie Castro, who can, if you're in a pinch, you can go out and play the outfield and play the infield as well. They got flexibility, man. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 guys I mentioned as bench players, right? Because I mentioned Margot, and I mentioned Farmer,
Margot,
and I mentioned
Castro,
Willie
Farmer.
Castro. That's 3. Just want to make sure I'm not running out of bodies here. Who's not starting at first base between Kirilloff
Santana,
and
Kirilloff,
Santana?
yep.
Or maybe the other person would be at DH. So is there a spot for like a Nico Goodrum to make some noise? They've been playing him a lot this spring to see if he could be useful. And he's another guy who can move around a couple positions. I'm missing someone, backup catcher. Yeah, I think I just thinking off the top of my head, I think they probably only have one spot on the roster, right? That's up for grabs, I think. Based on throwing the numbers together. So yeah, this kind of makes spring training boring now. There's not going to be a big time competition for spots here. And I guess that's a good thing. That means your team is a good team, and it's on paper, it's very solid. So I think it definitely reduces spots for players who are hoping to make the big club.
Yeah, I think they have 12 locks for the 13 position players, and 13th could be, my guess is Martin goes down, but it could be somebody who can pinch run. It could be a specialist. It could be somebody who can pinch run. It could be just a depth guy. It could be a defensive replacement. But they're, good teams don't really have that many competitions in spring training. They just want to stay healthy.
Right. Exactly.
All right, let's get to the most pressing issue of the day. I know we saved it for last here. See-through uniforms. How the hell could a Major League Baseball get to a point where people are wearing see-through uniforms?
I wonder if the conspiracy to me thinks that maybe they did it to draw more fan attention. Just get more female viewers in baseball games. I don't know. Ever since the story came out, it's made me watch games more intently just to see if there's a see-through element to these uniforms. It's weird, but I can't tell. It must be up close where the whole see-through action is more. It's easier to be seen. But you think with HD TV, everything's going to be augmented, but no. I'm gonna get down to spring training. Like I said, I'm going down on Monday. I'm gonna check out these uniforms and see how bad it is. I guess there's a story out today, in which the league is talking about making adjustments to the uniforms. So I don't know what they can do, but yeah, if you guys see through uniforms in a lot of other sports, that's not a good thing. So I would say it's probably not good for baseball either.
It's just amazing. I mean, baseball's $1 billion entity with $1 billion franchises, and I just don't know how this gets past anybody. I just don't get it. It kind of I mean, I've been covering, when I started covering sports, you too, LaVelle, there were a lot of mom and pop operations, and it felt like everything was just kind of, run out of a back room someplace. You would think in modern sports, with all the money and all the employees available and the size of the staff, they would not end up with something like this, unless for some stupid reason it was intentional.
Right. And baseball is always, because conspiracy theories are great for the game, especially in baseball. Is the ball juiced? Has it been softened because the Twins hit 307 homers one year? Are the fences really as long as they claim they are? And now it's the uniforms. What can you see when you're looking at a player and player's uniform pants? You would, and like agreed, you would think someone would catch this. I'm sure they had models that they were looking at. They should have. The models could have said something too. I don't know. It's for it to get this far down the road. This should be embarrassing to baseball that they're at this point, man. But they got time to make adjustments. I'm more upset about the fact that the uniforms look cheaper than the old ones. The lettering, the highlighting. I'm not fans of some of these. They look like spring training. They look like warm up jerseys. To be honest with you,
yeah,
they don't look like real jerseys. So that's a big gripe with me. Is that these sweet ass uniforms should be looking better than they are, man. So let's get it together here.
The best uniforms are the cleanest looking uniforms. See, I don't want to see gold trim. I don't want to see like that fake, shadow technique. I don't want to see like the Wolves last night. They wore those kind of dripped blue, light blue, looked like something a tourist would wear on vacation. And you know what? They look good.
I don't mind those.
They look good.
Yeah, I don't mind those.
And see, I like those. I like them. And the NBA can play around with that because the NBA is supposed to be kind of modern and hip and aiming for the young market. And those athletes look good in those. And the Timberwolves don't have a tradition that they have to protect. But, if you're the Twins, if you're any reasonably experienced franchise, you should go for the clean look. You should look like the Dodgers, like the Red Sox, like the Yankees.
Right, exactly. And I'll take this moment now, since we're talking about uniforms, to stress how much I dislike the Minnesota Wild's uniforms. I think it's one of the worst uniforms of all sports.
They're horrible.
I didn't know the color scheme is either baby poop or baby vomit. I'm not sure which one. The best uniform is when they. Yeah, you're right. The best uniform they have is when they go back to North Star's colors.
Right.
To be honest with you, I can't believe there hasn't been an attempt to juice up the logo or the color scheme, or just get new uniforms. Just a whole new scheme, man. I'm just not a fan.
I never have been a fan. I don't like wild. I hate it. Nobody knows what a wild is. So I don't like the name. I don't like the color schemes. I don't like the uniforms. And it doesn't really matter. We're not going to have to watch them in the playoffs anyway.
Good point. That's a good point, man.
Good stuff from LaVelle. Go ahead, LaVelle.
I was going to say Vikings fine. I love the purple because you don't see a lot of purple uniforms in sports, so I'm cool with that. The Looney uniforms are fine. They should be allowed to go baby blue, but the league already has two other teams that wears baby blue, so I get that. Well, this major sport am I missing? Baseball, football, hockey. I guess that's all the major ones. Lynx are fine. Just the Wild. The Wild is the one I just have issues with.
The Wild, and I'm not a big fan of maroon, but you can't do anything with that tradition in the college sports realm. But yeah, the Wild are the only ones where I would just say just blow it up and start over.
Right. Well, if we want to talk about Gopher uniforms, I'm not a fan of PJ going to the all black Gopher uniforms. There's never been black in Gopher uniforms until he got to school, But I've been told he's got a budget just based on uniforms that he can spend 7 figures a year for just to come up with different schemes, man. So just Run with the maroon, run with the gold, hold the black.
I could not agree more. Hey, thanks to LaVelle. Thanks to Roy. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Thank you all for listening. Again, check out Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line, promo code JONK20, John K20. Check out Defined Destinations. Keep in mind that we are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we appreciate Aquarius Home Services. And we'll talk to you next week.